Hello, everyone. Welcome to this reInvent breakout session. My name is Kaustubh Khanke. I'm a senior product manager in the AWS Artificial Intelligence team. I've been with Amazon for over 3.5 years now. Naomi, my colleague, is also here with me today. Naomi has also been with Amazon over 3.5 years. She is a principal consultant in the AWS Professional Services team. Today, both of us will be talking to you about contact lens for Amazon Connect. Specifically, we will be talking about the new call summarization capability that we have announced for contact lens just this reInvent. So let's take a quick look at the agenda for this session. First, I'll start with a quick introduction of Amazon Connect and provide an overview of contact lens for those of you who are unfamiliar with these services. Following this, I will talk about the new call summarization capability. I'll then outline some of the key benefits that you will expect or you can expect from contact lens. Finally, Naomi will showcase a quick demo on how you can get started with using contact lens and highlight resources that are available to you. As you can see, we have a packed agenda for today, so let's get started. Amazon Connect, the easy-to-use omni-channel cloud contact center, was built from the ground up to make it easy to leverage machine learning throughout the full customer journey. This helps businesses overcome cost implications. It can help you decrease costs while improving customer experience, revenue, and operations. Over 10 years ago, when Amazon.com needed a contact center to support our retail business, we couldn't find a solution that fit our needs. So we built it ourselves. Amazon Connect has been developed for the cloud by the largest cloud provider in the world to support businesses of any size on an on-demand basis. Since we launched Connect to the public in 2017, we have quickly become one of the best contact center solutions in the market for customers to deliver exceptional customer service at lower costs. Amazon Connect comes with all the core functionality you would expect to have in a contact center. However, we've built it in with a focus on solving customer needs rather than just following industry norms. We use machine learning at the heart of every interaction to improve customer outcomes. And anyone, whether you are a developer, a business user, can literally set up a call center in less than 10 minutes from the AWS console and scale it from a single agent to tens of thousands of agents. Today, contact centers of every size use Amazon Connect, from startups to large multinational enterprises. We also have companies from every industry and every major region across the world using Connect to deliver exceptional customer experiences. Customers have told us that they love all the innovative features that they get with Amazon Connect. Today, we are going to talk about just one of them. 2 years ago, we announced Contact Lens for Amazon Connect during reInvent 2019. Contact Lens is a set of machine learning capabilities that enables businesses to analyze customer conversations. These capabilities are available as a part of an out-of-the-box integrated experience in Amazon Connect. And you can just access them with a few clicks without the need for any technical expertise. Supervisors, agents, and businesses benefit in various ways from Contact Lens, which translates into a great experience from your customers. Supervisors are able to find critical issues in real time. They're able to take actions to prevent issues from escalating further. They can also easily identify coaching opportunities to help improve agent performance. Along similar lines, agents themselves benefit from timely assistance that they can get from supervisors. Businesses can find product feedback and use those feedback from customer calls to improve their products and services. They can also manage compliance to company policies and regulatory requirements. Let's take a look at each of these use cases in more detail. In a lot of contact centers, supervisors have to randomly sample live calls to determine if calls need their immediate attention. With real-time supervisor alerts, Contact Lens will alert supervisors in Amazon Connect's real-time metrics dashboard to notify them of an issue when certain rules that you have defined are met on a customer call. From a list of alerts on the dashboard, a supervisor can identify which calls are of the most concern. You can quickly review the names of categories that were hit on a call. For example, you could have a category for customer escalation request or an account cancellation request and attend to such high severity issues very quickly. A supervisor can either listen in to hear a customer's issue during a live call, or they can also refer to a real-time transcript, which includes both customer and the agent's sentiment. Using the transcript and the customer sentiment trend, supervisors can quickly get up to speed to assess the appropriate action. Supervisors can provide agents advice on resolving the customer's issue based on their experience, or share knowledge-based articles or policy pages that may provide relevant guidance. Supervisors could also determine that a call transfer is needed, and the agent can then pass on that conversation to them so that the supervisor can address the customer issue themselves. Now, anytime a customer is asked to repeat their issue during a call transfer, it only frustrates them further. A customer could already be frustrated dealing with an issue. When an agent tells them that their call is being transferred, it only makes their frustration worse. They are agitated by the fact that the agent couldn't solve their problem, and now they have to start over and explain their problem to another person. With Contact Lens's real-time capabilities, you can pass a call transcript from one agent to another agent or to a supervisor to simplify these call transfers. Having the transcript handy, along with customer sentiment trend, detected issues, match call categories, provides all the relevant context for someone to quickly come up to speed. This means that the customers do not have to repeat themselves during call transfers, and their issues are resolved much faster. Now, most contact centers use contact wrap-up or call issue codes or call disposition codes to identify what a call is about. Agents are required to select from a long list of issue codes at the end of a call. Like, naturally, agents are going to end up selecting the easiest one that they can find. This method can be error-prone, and you can get an incorrect picture of what's happening in your contact center. With automated call categorization, Contact Lens can look for presence or absence of certain keywords or phrases that are mentioned by either the customer, the agent, or both. And you can do this either at the beginning of the call, at the end of the call, or during the entire length of the call. And you can then match your calls based on these specified rules. Now, supervisors can categorize these calls based on 3 matching techniques, right? So you have exact matching, you have semantic matching, and then you have pattern matching. Now, with exact matching, Contact Lens can look for keywords and phrases exactly as you've specified them. On the other hand, supervisors can use semantic matching in Contact Lens to categorize calls that contain phrases with similar meaning, even if they are not mentioned explicitly during the category definition. This can be achieved through a machine learning model that does intent matching, and it is trained to understand the context and meaning of the keywords that were specified in the category definition. Right? Let's take an example here. When you're using semantic matching, Contact Lens knows that even though you had just the phrase, thank you for your help, in the category definition, if there is a phrase like, I am grateful for your assistance, that is mentioned on a particular call, Contact Lens knows that there needs to be a category match. Separately, Contact Lens can also categorize calls using pattern matching. This pattern matching is based on regular expressions, if you're familiar with it. However, you don't have to be an expert in regular expressions to use this capability. For example, a business may want to separately organize their calls that are related to credit issues and credit card issues. They can define a pattern to categorize calls by stipulating that the word card should not occur within one word of credit. This will clearly separate any mentions of the word credit from mentions of credit card. Now, categorization is not just limited to keywords or phrases. You can also categorize calls based on conversation characteristics like sentiment, non-talk time, and interruptions. Now, these rules can help you find calls with bad customer experiences. Examples of those would be something like long silences or maybe an abnormal amount of crosstalk between your agent and your customer. For example, you can create a rule for silences over 5 minutes, and you can find all those calls that had silences or hold time greater than 5 minutes. You could also find calls where the crosstalk is greater than 2 minutes, right? Once you've defined these categories, based on keywords or phrases or conversation characteristics, you can then track the frequency of these issues over time. This information does not have to be limited to your contact center staff alone. Think of all the value that you can generate by making this data available to your product teams. They could very well be changing the direction of their product roadmaps to improve customer experiences based on these insights. Now, supervisors are often responsible for making sure that agents are adhering to company policies and regulatory mandates. This means that historically they've had to go to the painstaking task of reviewing calls to ensure that agents are provided coaching when required. With Contact Lens, in addition to tracking issues through automated call categorization, you can also manage policy and regulatory compliance. For example, you can specifically look for mentions of the phrase, thank you for being a Platinum Rewards member, right? This will allow you to ensure that all the agents are complying with your call scripts for greeting customers that are part of your rewards programs. You can specifically identify calls where the policy is followed and where the policy isn't followed. Contact Lens can also help you manage regulatory compliance. For example, if there was a regulatory disclosure that needs to be read out to a customer before the start of every call or at the start of every call, you can track which calls were in compliance and which calls weren't. For example, if agents have to say, this call is being recorded for quality assurance purposes, if they have to say it before every call according to maybe local regulations, you can ensure that this requirement is followed by agents, and you can easily find calls where that isn't being followed. This capability has proven to be immensely helpful for our customers in highly regulated industries, right? Like probably examples are financial services where customers are required to follow strict regulations based on where they operate. Now, your contact centers also hold valuable information regarding your customers. It could be personally identifiable information, or PII in short, or it could be location details, or it could be financial details, and so on, right? With Contact Lens, you can redact such sensitive data, data such as names, addresses, credit card details, and social security numbers. Our machine learning models are able to identify sensitive data intelligently using the available context. For example, based on the conversation surrounding a particular number and the number of digits, Contact Lens can identify if the information is sensitive and whether it represents maybe credit card details or social security numbers. Redaction removes this sensitive information from the call transcript, but it also does it from the audio recording. So for example, for call transcripts, whenever a sensitive data is detected, the sensitive data is masked with the word PII. For call recordings, on the other hand, the audio segment that contains mentions of the sensitive data, that part is silenced. Now, based on your need, you can decide who is granted permission to the redacted data as well as the unredacted data. For the vast majority of your supervisors, you may want to restrict access to only the redacted data. But there may be a small subset of your supervisors who you could grant access to unredacted data if it is needed to troubleshoot specific issues, right? For example, a handful of supervisors could need access to customer issues, customer names, in order to diagnose an issue or troubleshoot an issue through another tool. So you can totally do that. You can give access to this small handful of supervisors to make sure that only they have access to this unredacted information. Now, in order to find opportunities to train agents to get better or to maybe even reward good agent behavior, supervisors have historically had to do like random sampling, like I mentioned earlier. Now, Contact Lens is tightly integrated into Amazon Connect's contact search capability. You can use the contact search page to look for calls analyzed by Contact Lens. Now, contact search is not unique to Contact Lens within Connect. Amazon Connect's contact search can be used to look for various filters such as contact IDs, agent names, disconnect reason, and queue, even if you're not using Contact Lens. However, with Contact Lens, you now get the ability to also search based on certain filters that are only available if you're using the service. For example, you can look for all the calls where the customer sentiment shifted from negative to positive. You can also look for calls where the customer sentiment shifted the other way around, from positive to negative. Right? And this would basically help you understand which are the calls where the customers entered the conversation maybe with some issue, and your agent was able to perform really well and get them to a positive sentiment at the end of the call. On the other side, if you find calls where the customer sentiment was positive and ended with negative, maybe those are the calls that you want to focus on. So even if you generate transcripts and analytics for a call today, it can be difficult to understand key points of interest to focus on. Now, when you enable Contact Lens, Amazon Connect's contact detail page, it gets enhanced even further. Some of the visualizations that you're seeing on this page are not available if you're not using Contact Lens. After searching for a call, you can review the entire call transcript, and you can probably even listen to only the most relevant portions of that particular call. The audio waveform that you're seeing can automatically scroll based on to the particular parts of the transcripts as you progress through the call recording. You could also select specific timestamps in the transcript and jump to those particular sections in the call recordings that are associated with that part of the transcript. You can also select the call categories that were hit on the call and find where they occurred during the conversation. You also get customer and agent sentiment for every speaker turn. You can also see graphs that are available to show you the change of sentiment throughout the interaction, right? You can also find the distribution of talk time, right, and non-talk time. For example, ideally you would want to have your customer talk time being longer than agent talk time because it indicates that your agent was patiently listening to the customer, and you also want the non-talk time or the silence to be low. Now, high non-talk time obviously would indicate that the customer is probably on hold for a long period of time, which again doesn't always correlate to a good customer experience. You also don't want your agent to be interrupting your customer too many times. So that's again another thing that you can spot on the contact detail page. Now, all of these are important indicators of customer experience, right? That are going to help you improve the quality of service for your business overall. So Contact Lens has been surfacing critical insights for a lot of our customers. Customers like Accolade are using Contact Lens to analyze their Connect calls. Now, Accolade is a personalized health and benefits solution that serves employers across the country. Accolade is particularly passionate about their customer experiences, especially because they help their customers with life's most important questions, concerns about healthcare. With Contact Lens for Amazon Connect, they have transformed their contact center experience. They have been able to uncover emerging trends to provide agents with the right guidance. Enabling Contact Lens only took them a few minutes, and it has saved them months of development time that it would have probably taken to build similar powerful AI tools. Now, since our launch, we have been continuing to hear like positive feedback from a lot of customers that have already adopted contact lens. But we've also heard feedback regarding some challenges that businesses continue to face, right? Now, one such challenge is inefficiencies in capturing call notes, right? Contact centers field large volume of customer calls every day, and these conversations can contain crucial customer feedback. To ensure important conversation details are available for future reference, agents want to accurately capture key parts of the customer interaction, including like maybe specific action items that are associated with each call. Now, agents spend significant time, after each call in manually summarizing these notes and entering it into, customer relationship management or CRM systems. Now, as you can imagine, this process is time-consuming and it is subject to human errors. For example, agents may just end up forgetting to capture notes altogether. Now, all of this leads to reduced agent productivity because there's so much time spent doing all of these activities. Now, supervisors have to spend significant time listening to call recordings or reading call transcripts themselves, right? Like they have to spend all this time trying to understand the gist of a customer conversation when they're probably investigating customer issues. Call notes that are manually captured by agents can vary in detail as well as quality. Now, this is due to the fact that agents themselves can have varying interpretation of note-taking guidelines. As a result, supervisors find it difficult to understand the key conversation details, right? And this leads to inefficient use of your supervisor's time as well. Now, finally, customers are also disappointed when they find that promises or commitments made to them are not kept. Now, examples of a promise or a commitment could be a follow-up email or a follow-up phone call. Customers are also frustrated when they have to repeat themselves again on subsequent calls about the same issue. They expect that agents will already have access to information regarding their past problems and are up to speed on the relevant context. Now, if customer commitments are repeatedly not met, customers get frustrated and eventually could leave the service or even cancel their accounts. All of these challenges got us thinking, right? Like there has to be a better way to address pain points for agents, for supervisors, and for businesses overall. And with that in mind, we went about designing a new capability that we've launched this reInvent called call summarization. Now, as a part of call summarization, Contact Lens uses machine learning to automatically identify key parts of the customer conversation. Once it has completed this identification, it assigns a label for each key component of the conversation. Contact Lens then displays these components together as a summary on the contact detail page in Amazon Connect. If you find that you would prefer reading the full transcript, you can expand the call summary at the click of a button. Now, call summarization, it works straight out of the box. You do not need to do any machine learning model training to use this capability. We have designed the capability to work across different domains and different industries. To top it all, call summarization is available at no additional cost for Contact Lens customers. Now, you may be wondering, if I don't want to access the summary through the UI, is there a way to get access to this data outside of the UI, right? And the answer is a resounding yes. The file contains, Contact Lens generates a JSON output file in your Amazon S3 bucket for each call that it analyzes. And this file contains the turn-by-turn transcript. It contains conversation characteristics such as non-talk time, interruptions, and even loudness. Now, this file containing the transcript and all of these other conversation characteristics, going forward will also contain character offsets and the text for the call summary components. Now, the key parts of the call summary, like I mentioned, there's a lot of components there, include the issue, the outcome, and the action item. Now, all three of them are present in this output file. Let's learn a little bit about each of them. First, we have the issue, right? It answers the question, why is the customer calling in? A customer could be calling for a variety of different reasons, right? They could be calling about maybe returning a defective item and getting a refund. They could be talking about maybe wanting to reset their password. It could be about wanting to cancel their account. Or it could be about a late delivery that a customer was expecting and isn't on time. Call summarization tries to find a variety of these issues. Next, we have the outcome. Now, the outcome answers the question, what was the end result of the call, right? If there was a clear result, what was this result? This is key to understanding how a call ended, right? Like, was the customer satisfied with the agent's help? Did the agent answer the customer's questions? Did the agent make a recommendation that resolved the customer's issue? Outcome tries to answer these questions in the call summary. Finally, we have the action item, right? This helps you identify any promises or commitments made to the customer that need to be kept. The key question that you answer here is, what steps do I need to take to close the loop with this particular customer? Common examples are, follow-up email that needs to be sent to a customer, right? Maybe you will have to send them specific instructions about, how to reset their password. Maybe you've helped them this time, but you want to make sure that in the subsequent times when they have to do this process themselves, they can refer to this email and quickly do it on their own. This is a good way to find those kind of action items out. Other examples include follow-up phone calls, right? Maybe the agent has promised the customer that, I will check in with you to see if the refund that I just have, issued to you has gone through, right? A follow-up phone call is the other action item that you can track through the call summary. You could also take these action items and, generate work items for agents or specific teams by integrating with Amazon Connect tasks. Now, this would allow you to track work items to closure. Now, as you can see, this part of the call summary is key to taking actions that reinforce a customer's trust in your business. Now, considering the value that Contact Lens brings with the machine learning based analytics, several businesses have adopted Contact Lens in their Amazon Connect contact centers, and Vista is one of them. Now, Vista is a global technology company striving to be the design, digital, and print partner for small businesses across the world. To get there, Vista is heavily investing across the business, including building a data and analytics team. And their mission is to make Vista one of the world's most iconic data and analytics-driven organizations. Now, Vista's customers have a wide variety of needs, right, regarding their marketing products and services. Whether they're operating in-store, online, on-site, or on the go. Now, Contact Lens, with its transcription capability and advanced call metrics, has enabled them to analyze thousands of calls every day to understand what their customers are saying about their products and their needs. This has given them unprecedented visibility into customer sentiment and trends across their entire contact center. The multilingual transcription capability also excites them because they can now build scalable data products on top of it. The data products that their internal team has built on top of Amazon Connect makes the content of the interaction much more accessible to their voice of the customer team, their contact center operations team, and their marketing teams. While it has also enabled them to do deeper, quicker, and much more holistic analysis of customer interactions, which has saved their specialists a lot of time in wrapping up calls. Now, the machine learning powered call summarization is a particular highlight for them. They like that the analysis of the contacts is much easier, and it is saving them time for agents in summarizing the contacts manually, and it has reduced the effort for reviewing filtered groups of contacts when they're deep diving into specific topics or maybe even improvement opportunities. Now let's talk about the benefits of contact lens. Contact lens is a win-win-win for customers, agents, and supervisors. And as a result, the whole business benefits, right? Let's look at each of these stakeholder benefits in detail, right? So contact lens solves customer issues in real time. So this reduces your wait times for customers in call queues as well. And it also helps you track action items to keep these promises and commitments that you're making to customers. Now, as you can imagine, as a result, your customers just get a better customer experience. Now, agents get the assistance that they need and the coaching that they need from their supervisors when required, right? So they don't have to spend time capturing notes either with capabilities like call summarization, which just makes their lives much easier. Supervisors no longer have to randomly sample calls. So they're finding calls that need attention, and they can identify these bad customer experiences and rectify them. Or they could also find good customer experiences and try to replicate them. They also don't have to spend time listening to call recordings or full transcripts to understand the gist of a conversation anymore. Now, all of these just translate to better business outcomes overall, right? Like contact lens is helping you keep sensitive data secure, and it is helping you comply with regulatory requirements. Happier agents and happier supervisors lead to better retention rates for your contact center staff. And happier customers overall lead to better customer retention and lesser customer churn. Now, you may say all of this sounds great, right? Like, but how much am I paying for all of this? Like all other AWS services, pricing for contact lens is pay as you go, right? There are no upfront payments. There are no long-term commitments. There are no seat licenses. There are no activation fees. And there are no minimum spends. This has been a differentiator for us, and this is something that our customers consistently tell us that they love. Now, you can get started with a free tier of 90 minutes per month for 12 months. And after that, the pricing for the first 5 million monthly minutes is 1.5 cents per minute. And the pricing for monthly minutes over 5 million minutes is 1.25 cents per minute. Now, for example, if you were to analyze, let's say, 10,000 minutes, which roughly amounts to, let's say, about 1,000 calls, you would be paying just $150. Now, let's talk about how easy it is to set up contact lens in your Amazon Connect contact center and even start using call summarization. Naomi will be walking us through a short demo to show you how to get started. So, Naomi, please take it away.
Thank you, Kaustubh. Okay, yeah, so let's take a look at, now that you've understood and had an overview of Amazon Connect and contact lens and call summarization, let's see it in action. So I've gone ahead and I've signed into my Amazon Connect console. I've already established an Amazon Connect instance. So I'm gonna start with showing you how to quickly enable contact lens. So we'll first go to our contact flow, which I've already configured. Our contact flow editor is a drag and drop interface where you can build the contact experience end to end. So anywhere from building your prompts, building your integrations, everything within this drag and drop interface gives you what you need, including enabling contact lens and call recording. So what I'm going to do with my flow here is I'm going to expand my set area within my contact flow editor, and I'm going to drag over the set recording and analytics behavior block. I'm going to open the properties of that block, and I'm going to go ahead and enable call recording. I'm going to turn this on, and you'll see I have options here, agent and customer, agent only, or customer only. With contact lens, we need agent and customer because as you saw and as you'll see, we've got to have both sides of that conversation to do that analytics. So we're going to go ahead and enable agent and customer. We also have the ability, and this is where we're going to now enable contact lens. From there, you also have the option of doing post-call analytics or real-time and post-call. For this use case, we're going to do post-call, and we're also going to set the language to English only, but you also have many languages to choose from as well. We're also going to redact sensitive data here. As Kaustubh mentioned, you may have use cases where you need to redact that PII, and you have the option to generate both the redacted and the unredacted transcripts, which will be stored in S3, and we'll take a look at that output file at the end of the demo. So we're going to go ahead and generate both transcripts. So I'm going to save those properties, and then I'm going to decide where I'm going to put this in my contact flow experience. Most of the time, you're going to have this at the front of your contact flow, but you can control where you turn on that recording and analytics. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect my block, save, and publish. And my changes are now active. And now any calls that are flowing through that contact flow are now recorded, and that contact lens analysis is happening at every call. So I've already set this beforehand, and I've made a few calls and want to show you what the analytics looks like. So I'm going to go into contact search. As Costa mentioned, this is where you can filter and search by key areas within what we call the contact trace record. I'm just going to go ahead and do a search for an entire time frame. Okay, and and you'll see we get results based on that search. I'm going to go ahead and drill into that contact ID. We can see, you can download the call recordings from this page, and there are some things you can do to get some of the data, metadata directly from that call. But when we open this contact, it'll put us into the contact trace record analysis page. And I want to go directly to the new feature we're announcing with call summarization within this page. So let's just go ahead. We see that we've got the whole transcript here, but if we toggle on Show Transcript Summary, we now see that the transcript has been summarized for us, and we see the categories that, as Costa mentioned, are automatically being detected. So all we did was enable contact lens in our contact flow, and the machine learning models behind the scenes are detecting what's happening with this call. So let's look at the issue. We know that this person, this was an insurance type of caller, and the person's calling about a fender bender they got into. We see that that's clearly captured as an issue here. And then we see there was an outcome where the agent and the agent part of that conversation had indicated that there was going to be an upload of photos, and that was the outcome of the call. But there was also an action the agent took where they were going to do send an email as part of this as follow-up. So this is where you could have that task generation behind the scenes to make sure that follow-up is occurring. Or you'll see when we look at the JSON, you can capture and keep track of those actions or the outcomes or the issues. Okay, let's look at a couple other calls. So we also made a couple of calls here that not only have our call summarization, this particular one, we had an issue and an action. We didn't get a clear outcome out of it, but I do wanted to show you the category matches that can also occur. And this is because we've configured rules as well. And I'm going to show the rules in a moment, but I wanted to first show you these category matches in addition to call summarization. So we not only get the category matches based on our rules configured, but we also get the number of matches we had. So for example, we have agent conclusion. We know that there were 2 matches within our rule, and we can actually see within the transcript where those happened. We have a customer escalation rule here. We've got a difficulty hearing. So throughout the transcript, you can narrow in on those category matches and even listen to the recording of that, or specifically, or read those transcripts and take the action there. You also get the sentiment analysis that comes along with the entire duration of the call, and we can see the patterns here. Everything in the top of this analytics page gives you a summarization of the percent of time you have positive and negative sentiment, so you can see clear trends there. But you also see the talk time percentages as well. The non-talk time, like as Costa mentioned, narrow in on that non-talk time, as that usually equates to maybe a poor customer experience, even an agent experience, because you can capture these from both the customer and the agent side. And let's look at one more call. So with this call, we have category matches, and we have our transcript here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my call summarization. This one, I have an issue and an outcome this time. But notice that we also have our PII that was mentioned in the transcript, and this is what it looks like when we're redacting that. So you'll notice PII is mentioned, and you'll notice when we look at the output file, this is also how it's masked. And in this situation, and we've got like kind of different types of calls here. This one was specifically about somebody calling to get a discount on their policy, and so they were clearly asking about that issue. But if we look at the outcome, the agent was not actually able to help the caller, and we can see that that kind of ended with a negative sentiment, and you know, that outcome could feed into, you know, that agent coaching and picking up on those trends of like those outcomes that aren't what you're looking for as the outcome to align with your customer experience you're looking for. So let's take a look at the rules configuration in these category matches that we had. So we've got a few rules we've pre-configured here. Let's narrow in on the agent intro. So very often, as Costa mentioned, in regulated industries, you may have, or say you're under a contract, so you need your agents to greet the customers a particular way. You can capture all of those in a rule, which we've done here, and you can capture those because this is an agent intro. We want to find specific words and phrases that were matched, but you can also look for specific things that were not mentioned. And you can pick the duration of where you want to make that search. So we're looking at, in this situation, the first 45 seconds of that call, but you could look at last or the entire duration of the call. You can specify the time frame by seconds, minutes, or hours. And then you can also create these rules for just the agent side of the conversation, the customer, or either. So let's look at another type of rule we've got here. We've got as the call characteristics that we talked about as well with contact lens analytics. If we look at this particular upset customer one, we're tracking the sentiment. So we're taking that sentiment analysis and we're looking for a trend here. If the sentiment is equal to or less than or equal to 0 throughout the entire duration of call. That way we can easily find those category matches. We can search within our contact search, like the way we're pulling up these calls now. We can narrow in specifically on all of those upset customer calls. But let's take a look at adding another condition here. So we can also add in, pattern matches as well. So let's take a look at what a pattern match might be. As Costa mentioned, the credit card scenario. You may want to add a rule in here. We'll just do this real time here. I'm going to go ahead and type in credit, and I'm going to use a bracket to pull up the options here. And it's going to give me some ability to build in some additional logic. I'm going to do a proximity restriction, and I'm going to put is not within 1 word apart. And I'm going to go ahead and insert that. So you can see how this editor really helps you build in these rules and go deeper with the logic without having, you know, specific skills, proprietary knowledge in order to do that. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to put credit card, and we're going to add that condition. And that's how you could add a pattern match as well. And that'll help you get even deeper with those analytics as far as the separation of credit versus credit card. And you want that match to come up as a pattern as opposed to exact words and phrases. So we could also create rules for real time. Let's take a look. I just want to show you, these were all post-call analytics examples. Let's take a look at a real-time example. So we can build a real-time rule by adding a condition here. And we're going to do a sentiment time period specifically. And what this allows us to do is build a real-time match for whether the real-time while the call's happening. Is it going positive, negative, neutral? Let's put negative in the first, say, 15 seconds, or let's say 30 seconds of that call. And then we give our category a name. We'll just call it XYZ. And we can even add an action here. So what's going to happen with this real-time rule is it's going to alert your supervisors whenever we've configured these real-time rules, whenever there's a match from the Amazon Connect console in the real-time metrics page that the supervisor uses to monitor what's happening with calls. I think we had a screenshot of it. It pops with a red alert that can be hovered over, and the supervisor can even drill into what's happening real time. Now, what you can also do is, as Costa mentioned, if you want to configure outside of the UI, or you want to integrate with your own applications, or generate an Amazon Connect task for follow-up on what's happening, you can do that here. We've integrated with Amazon EventBridge, where you can have real-time alerts that you can pull from and take other actions. There's the create task, which is natively integrating with an Amazon Connect task that can be created out of this. Okay, so now that we've looked at rules, let's take a look at the output file. So what will happen after these, with post-call analytics, is there will be within S3 a JSON and an audio file that is stored in the analytics portion of the S3 bucket that you've determined when you've set up your Amazon Connect instance. I've gone ahead and already downloaded the JSON output from that first call we looked at that had an issue, action, and outcome. But let's take a look at what this output includes. So you get all the call characteristics, the metadata with that file, and you can narrow in specifically even on the transcript, the segmented transcript by agent and by customer portion of that call. All of that can be consumed, and it could be consumed into, if you're looking to consume into a BI tool for dashboarding, or even think about scenarios where you're, to save your agent time from writing up call summarization on their own, manually taking notes, or call dispositioning. You can feed all of that into your own application if you'd like to save that time if you're not wanting to use our native UI options. So we really want to give that flexibility to customers. But I also want to show you specifically that we also now have the ability to capture that issue. So we see the issue is detected here, and we have the characteristics, specifically the text that generated that issue. So you can adjust that. And we can also find the action, the outcome within this JSON. We see the outcome detected here as well, with all of the characteristics around that. And then we have the action as well. So action detected here. So you can take those, and you could even take this JSON and have it ingested in a couple different places. It really gives you the flexibility to do whatever you'd like to take that call summarization a whole nother level. And with that, I'm just going to transition back to our slides. Okay, so if you're looking for resources to help you build, you've seen the simplicity here, but sometimes you may need help. And if you do, we have a number of great resources for you, including immersion days, workshops, or guidance reviews in your architecture. So talk with your AWS account team that you're working with, whether it's working with your solutions architects or AWS professional services like myself, or with partners. We have the extra resources to help you, but we'd love to have you get started. Our goal is to have you all self-serve and use these tools without extra work and with the simplicity involved. So. And with that, With that, we thank you very much for your time and attention today. And we'd like to go ahead and open it up for questions, but it's very important for us to get your feedback, so please complete the survey so that we can continue to provide you valuable sessions at future conferences. So we'll go ahead and open it. Thank you.
Go ahead, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think so. The question was, how do you retrain this this capability for different industries? Let's say if you're in travel or hospitality or retail. That was your question, right? Yep. So I think so. The way we've designed a lot of these capabilities is to make sure that you guys don't have to customize the machine learning for different types of use cases. We've just designed things like call summarization to be able to detect issues or outcomes or action items, whether that's in like financial services, healthcare, or like travel industry. So really, I think the way that the machine learning models are designed today, it's not based on particular types of issues, and it's not looking for specific types of trigger words. What you'll find is that irrespective of which industry you are in, the machine learning model will be able to give you some sort of a result that caters to your capability. And again, this is not just the case with the call summarization capability. Even our sentiment analysis is not specific to any types of industries. It works for all the domains that you're probably working in. I did want to add though that if you are looking for some sort of customization, categorization is a great place to do that, right? Like you can add keywords or phrases specific to your business, and then look for those specific things, because that is completely under your control, and you define how those issues are tracked and monitored. So you really get the flexibility with both. You get the out-of-the-box capability, but you can also customize using categorization. Go ahead. Sorry? So at this point in time, you can't customize redaction. Again, we've designed the capability to be able to detect all sorts of sensitive data such as names, addresses, phone numbers, credit card details, social security numbers. So by default, the machine learning model is trained to identify all these types of sensitive information and then redact it from the transcripts as well as the call recording. But we are looking to take it further and maybe even give you the ability to customize what gets redacted versus what doesn't get redacted. At this point, we don't have that. It's either you redact all of the sensitive information, or it's like probably you want to just keep it as unredacted. But we do want to get to a place where we can give you more controls over what gets redacted and what doesn't. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. Right. So the question was, can I go back and run call summarization on some of my older calls? And if I can't, like, is there an API for it? So two parts to that answer. So first of all, call summarization capability right now is forward-looking. So any calls going forward, from our launch yesterday, any calls that you're analyzing with contact lens will have call summaries associated with it. We don't have the capability to go back and do that analysis for you. But if there is some specific need, you can reach out to us and we can work with you on that. In terms of the API component, so right now we do make all the data available in the JSON. So like that is totally up to you how you want to use it. But in the future, we do want to get to a place where we can provide you an API that you can just run on a couple of calls and then get outputs from the calls from those calls specific to the call summarization capability. So yeah, that's probably something we'll be working on. Is there someone here? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so the question was, how is the sentiment calculated? Is it based on words, or what are the techniques? So the sentiment really is based on evaluating the context around the words that are in the transcript. So basically, we're not looking for specific trigger words. So we're not looking for things like terrible or bad or good. We're not looking for those kind of trigger words. What we're looking for is a wide range of context around what the customer is saying, and our machine learning models are trained to look at that overall context. And then once it looks at the context, we then grade it on a scale from -5 to +5. -5 being obviously the most negative, and +5 being the most positive. And then you basically get a range of scores between that scale from -5 to +5 that you can then look at and evaluate, what gradient of sentiment do you want to go after and tackle, right? For example, you might want to find the most egregious customer calls where the customer experience has been terrible. So you might say, hey, I want to look only for calls that are lesser than -5 in sentiment. Or maybe you're looking for the best calls and you want to take those calls and include it as a part of coaching or training content. Then you can say, okay, I want to look for calls that have a sentiment score greater than 4, right? So it's either 4 or 5, and then you can like take those as examples. And by the way, the sentiment score is not just one score for one call. You definitely have an overall sentiment score, but you also get sentiment by quarters of the call, so you can actually see the progression as the call progresses. And you also get turn by turn sentiment score. So you can actually go through the transcript and see where the customer's sentiment shifted from, let's say, negative to positive, or from positive to negative. So you can isolate that piece or that part of the transcript or the call recording where things went south, and you want to probably investigate that part further. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So yeah, the question was how accurate is the sentiment and how you can tune it. So the sentiment is pretty accurate. I think what we've seen with most of the customers that we've been working with, they've been using sentiment, pretty widely across their contact center. Just as an example, we have certain customers that are actually taking the sentiment score from Contact Lens and combining it with the post-call survey scores or the CSAT scores that they get today, right? So if you look at CSAT scores today that you get from like your post-call surveys, they're probably a very limited metric to look at, because these responses that you're getting are probably from customers that are like really mad at you and your product and services, or they're like really happy and content with your services. And even the response rates are probably 20 to 30%, like when you're getting those responses back from customers. So if you really want a holistic understanding of what's happening, sentiment score is the way to go, because it does it for every call that you're encountering, and you're not relying on some response to be sent from the customer. And so far, we've seen customers take these two scores, the sentiment score from Contact Lens and maybe CSAT scores, and combine them together into sort of like a composite metric that really tells you, okay, what are the calls I need to be focusing on, or what are my best calls like. So that's regarding like the accuracy. We don't, again, the same question as before. We don't tune that sentiment score, because again, it's designed to work across industries. Like the entire objective here is to make a Contact Lens as seamless to use for any user, irrespective of whether they have technical expertise or they don't. And essentially, that's the entire value prop that we want to bring to the table, which is, you don't need to be a machine learning expert, neither do you need to be like an engineering expert. Any person can go in and start using these capabilities, and you get all the outputs that you're looking for. At the back? Yeah. 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 Yeah, so I think the reason, so the question was like, can I just obscure the PII in the redacted content, or can I, like remove it altogether? So that's a great question. I think the reason we do keep it in is because it still adds context that there was something around there in that sentence without like breaking the flow of that sentence. So we do keep it there. You don't have the option to remove it altogether, but the PII thing, that does get obscured in the transcript. And you do have the capability to define whether you want someone to access redacted versus unredacted. You also get the option to decide whether you want to generate the original transcript at all, right? So for example, if you don't want to store the original transcript anywhere in your S3 bucket, you can just select an option that says, hey, only generate the redacted transcript. I don't want the original transcript because I want to keep my data secure. So that you get that option of deciding whether you want to store that file or not. Maybe one last question. I think we're running out of time. Yeah. Yeah, so for now, so the question was, what about support for chat? Contact Lens currently is focused on voice call analytics, but we are considering, looking at serving customers that are using Connect not just for voice, but also for the chat channel. So yeah, that is definitely an area that we'll be investing and investigating further. All right. I think we are at time. So thank you all for coming out. Naomi and myself will be out in the hall if you have any further questions and you want to, talk to us again. So thank you again and appreciate all of your time.